Good morning, this is Jesse Blinn. I want to speak about major milestones in the ascension process where many people on Earth are in the process of ascending to fifth dimension. And oddly enough, I have been, if you want to say, witness to some of these events and these changes. And because I use a pendulum, as many of you know, that gives me numbers or information or even spells out names, I have access to, if you want to say, numerical evidence that this is happening. And I've actually seen several of these important events. As most of you know, I communicate with people and get out what I call the energy age, which is a number where we die at 100. Basically, it should be close to your calendar age in years. If it's a lot over your calendar age, you have some health problem. Some of these health problems may kill you or cause serious sickness. Some of them may be just something that always affects you, but you're not necessarily going to die younger because of it. So this number does not mean exactly how many years of life you have left. It's just a momentary measure of your health. Okay? And I learned to do that in 2013. One of my first major tests was with the passengers of Malaysia Airline jet, who I can guarantee you that at that time and still, every one that I have tested have been alive and well. That's another story. I really should do a video explaining all that. But, okay, so I learned to have confidence in these numbers, and I also get other numbers. The first event that had to do, I would say, directly with the ascension process was very near the same time as Malaysia Airline jet. It was in what they call Easter week of 2014, which would have been roughly April 10th or something like that. Passover Day, I think, was April 14th. It was that week, Passover week. Okay? And I was doing healing for people, and I was testing what I called their energy level, and on a scale of 1 to 10. If it was 10, they were in good shape. If it was 9, they're okay, but may have some problems. If it was 8, they're not feeling good at all. I learned if they're about 7, they would probably be in bed. That's how bad they feel. Ones who were, if you want to say, on their deathbed were like 3 or 4. And of course, at death, that probably stopped. I didn't measure anybody who was dead. But I would send energy to heal that, and I could get it, if it was a little low, I could get up to 10 and even 20. I remember some I could get up to 23. And I thought that was really interesting. And that I figured that I was helping them. Well, Passover week of 2014, I was able to get those numbers to go up even more. I had a list of maybe 8 patients I was working with and testing their chakras every day and writing it down to learn the process. And I was getting these people's energy level, not energy age, energy level, up to over 100. And then I noticed that some of them were going up without me doing anything. Some of my patients, I was only checking my patients, they were going up from day to day without me doing anything. And this kept going up, and I was sending them energy. I'd get them up into the thousands, and it got to where I would get them up into the millions of this level of energy. And of course, that seemed absurd. So I asked the pendulum, obviously this wasn't just physical energy, because they didn't turn into Superman, stopping trains and catching airplanes. Something was going on. And I asked, if you want to say, the magical question, what kind of energy is this? And I went down a list of, physical energy, emotional energy, anything I could think of, which weren't a lot, but, like angelic energy. And let me show you how the pendulum answered when I got to the right answer. Okay. Let's say I'm going down the list. Here's angelic energy, physical energy, emotional, spiritual. And when I said divine energy, look. A strong yes. Divine energy. That divine energy started coming into the earth for Passover week of 2014. And I noticed something else that happened that same week. Each day of that week, a new chakra was activated. In other words, I was testing people's chakras. There are 7 main chakras. And like 2 or 3 days after it started, I, without thinking, went and I tested somebody's 8th and 9th chakras, and they had like 9 chakras, but not 10. And I checked other people, and most of them also had these additional chakras that they didn't have before, and they were being added every day. And I think it went up to 13. Yeah, I think 6 new chakras were added during that Passover week, which is interesting. So that was a sign with this incoming divine energy, and that was the only definition it responded to. With this incoming divine energy, we were getting new chakras activated. Wow. Okay. About that same time, I can't show you because I'm holding my phone here, but let's pretend that the pendulum does all kinds of tricks. Let's say that when I first started using the pendulum, the only place I could get it to move was the energy of the palm of my hand, and it would do like this. The energy of the palm of my hand when I first started. It wouldn't even answer yes and no, but it would show me the energy of the palm of my hand. On the right hand, it would go counterclockwise, and on the left hand, it would go clockwise. Okay? Very near the same, I think it was that same Passover week. For some reason, I was just showing somebody or testing the energy of my hand, and it wasn't there. There it is. It's there. Nothing. See? Next to the palm of my hand, nothing works. And I would raise it up, just trying to find that lost energy of my hand, because the pendulum still worked. And I got it up about 20 centimeters or 8 inches, and it started moving like this. What happened was our chakras grew. Our chakras got bigger. That energy that used to be very near my skin on the palm of my hand was then up about 8 inches or 20 centimeters. And I believe it was September or something of that same year, it grew again, and to find that same energy that was touching the palm of my hand when I started up to 2014, early 2014, I have to hold the pendulum out away from my hand like 15 or 20 inches, like half a meter, to find that same energy as the palm of my hand. And this didn't happen just with me. Many people, I don't know if everyone, but many people, we had our auras grow. That was in 2014. Okay? Now, let's fast forward to another major event in the Ascension process. I do this energy healing, and let's say I have somebody who's 50 years old and their energy age is 75. That means that it's a little high, they have some health problem. In a general statement, they're not going to live to be 100. They might live to be 60 or 70 or something, but their life perspective is not that good normally. In other words, they have health problems. But I would do major healing for them, and I'd get this energy age to go down and down and down. At that time, I could get it down near 0. Since then, I've gone much below 0. But I could get their energy age down near 0, and then I would send to optimize it for each person. And it would go back up to an optimum age for them. And that optimum age depended on how old they were. For example, a 20-year-old person, maybe the optimum age at that time would have been 15. So it would go back up to 15 and stay there for up to several days during this healing process. But each person had their own level. And my optimum energy age was, I believe it was 38. And I believe my wife's was 34. So I would do healing on myself and then send to optimize it, and would go to 38. And I'd do it on my wife and go to 34. I'd do it on a friend who's older than us. It might go to 46, and he was, let's say, 65 years old at that time or something. That was the optimum for them. Well, it's really interesting that at the same time, besides measuring energy age, I was sent a video by my guardian angel on how to measure people's level of development of conscience. So I was measuring everybody that I had communication with, their level of conscience. As you may see in some of my videos, Satan was one of the first ones I tested. He was 9. Charles Manson, 19. These are ones I remembered. El Chapo, 23. Adolf Hitler was 34. A lot of these criminals are down in that range, really bad criminals. George Bush, George W. Bush, 50-something. I'm surprising how low he was. I think, anyway, several presidents have been down into the 40s and 50s and 60s. And Hillary Clinton, I was actually surprised that she was in the 70s. I would think lower. But anyway, I was getting this level of conscience. But yet, all good people were up, normally around 300 or 400 or so. And there was a group of us who clearly were in, if you want to say, another level. I myself was about 1,100. We have a group which we call the Equipo de Alto Nivel, the high-level team here in Costa Rica. Most of us are volunteers from other constellations, planets, or whatever. And the average in the group was around 1,000 or so. The highest I found was like 3,500, 2,000 people I don't know, but who channel messages from Jesus and other interesting things. They had really high levels of conscience, 2 to even 3 times my level. But we all had our own level of conscience. Okay? Then came September 23rd, 2015. Somebody wrote to me, actually 2 people wrote me on the same day with the same question. I think it must have been just to wake me up because they never answered again. But they wrote to ask me if you want to say a personal question. And I'm wondering, who are these people? Let me check. Let me check if they're high conscience or low conscience. And interestingly, both of their consciences was not 1,100 and something like mine, which could vary, and it was gradually going up. Everybody was going up, not just mine. But their level of conscience was 11,325, and I thought, wow, these have to be angels or something. Who are these? But I didn't have time to really investigate it a whole lot. And like 2 or 3 days later, I'm checking a friend, I think it was a woman, and her level of conscience was 11,325. And I checked somebody else of our group, and it was 11,325. And I checked mine, and it's 11,325. What happened was on September 23rd, 2015, and there were some astrological events or something then. I don't know much about astrology. And I actually had very little faith in astrology. But the more I see, the more I'm believing there's something there. But anyway, something was supposed to happen, and it did. Okay? That day, there were I think it was 53 million, and the pendulum answers all these questions, which I could show, but it would make a long video. About 53 million of us were, if you want to say, shot up to that 5th dimensional level of conscience. Anybody whose level of conscience was above around 825 shot up that day. And as people are reaching that level of conscience, they're automatically added, if you want to say, to that list of 5th dimensional humans on the earth. And so that started out at 53 million. It's now much bigger. I think the last time I checked it was 200 million. Let me see how many we are now. These are people on the earth of level of conscience 11,325. And I'm going to say 5th dimensional level of conscience so that it clarifies that this is 5th dimensional level of conscience. How many of us are there now in millions? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 200. Last time I checked, there were 200 some. 210, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 310, 20. And I think it's going to stop with 320. 310. 310 million. 311, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 316 million. And if I think 317 million, it's going to stop. There are 316 million people now on the earth that have reached the 5th dimensional level of conscience of 11,325. We are no longer different. We're all the same. even though obviously some of us probably are much more spiritual than others. Some people who have reached this level of conscience, I personally wouldn't have gave them that award. Sorry, but oh well. It's not up to me, obviously. But another very interesting thing that happened was that day, from that day on, anybody that I got below, let's say 30 years with their energy age and sent to optimize it, it would optimize out at 31. In other words, mine had before had been, let's say, 38. Now it was 31. Anybody, no, even if they're 95 years old and I send to optimize their energy age, if I got it down low enough first, it would be 31. So that was a major change, if you want to say, in our, I don't know, life expectancy maybe? Or what would be the optimum health? They say that after we die, most people look like they're around 30 years old, like mature people but in perfect health. Interesting that that is now the optimum for us. Okay, that brings us, that was the last major change I saw. Until, that was 2015, September 2015. Now here we are, June, actually July now, 2021. In other words, 6 years later. I've been having a few back problems. My energy age has been around 38 or so recently, when I wish it were 31. I'm 65 years old, so I do healing on myself. And my wife actually hurt her back a couple of weeks ago, and I've been trying to do healing on her, and it's been difficult to find the exact cause of her problems, which is very profound. It takes a lot of not just physical healing. But anyway, the morning of June 20th, I'm guessing maybe 8 o'clock in the morning or something, I was going to check my wife to see how her energy age was doing, and it was kind of high. It had been maybe 45, 49, whereas the best for her would have been, 31, obviously, but usually she'd been about 35, 36 or so. So it was, say, 49 or something. I checked my energy age first. I was, let's say, maybe 38. And I'll show you that here. I'll show you my wife's. I checked mine, it was say maybe 38. I went to check my wife's immediately after mine, and it got up to 90, like 96 or something, and I stopped the pendulum because 100 is death. And I'm thinking, either my wife is dying, which is not very likely because she's right over there, and seems relatively okay, or somebody's interfering with the pendulum. So I stopped and asked if there's interference in the pendulum. Do I have contact with the light? And the answer was no. I asked my energy age again, and I'm going to show you what it was. It was 38. Okay, I'm going to ask my energy age at that time. I think my back was hurting a little. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95, 100. 100 would be death, right? I'd be dead. 110, 120, 21, 22, and it's going to stop at 122. So my energy age was 121. How on earth did I, alive and relatively aware, get up to 121? So obviously something changed here. I checked my wife, and she was, I think, 140 something because her back was fairly serious problem. She was like 140 something. And I had to ask, okay, on what scale is this? And let's ask what scale that is. Now, for all these years, from 2013, for 8 years, I've been testing on a scale of 100. And there still are lots of people on that scale of 100. Okay? With this new scale, with how many years do we die? 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. 500. We are now on a 500-year scale instead of a 100-year scale. Now, don't you think that has major implications on the health of this group of us, now 300, I can't remember, 300 and some million, who are not only fifth dimensional level of conscience, but fifth dimensional physical levels? 500, and if I think 501 is going to slow down and stop. This is on a new scale of 500. Okay? Now, let me take, let's say my average energy age is around 100 now. Let me take that on a scale of 500. 100 on a scale of 500 is like 20 on a scale of 100. Okay? Now, that means, I'm going to ask, does that mean that our life expectancy has been increased substantially? Okay? That's saying yes. Okay, now I've never asked this question. I'm going to ask this question. What is the life expectancy of those of us who are now on the new scale of 500? What is the life expectancy in years? A new and very important question. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 200, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 300, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. It's getting real close. 360, 61, 62, and it's going to stop. 361 starts again. The new life expectancy in Earth years, I'm making sure this is Earth, standard Earth years, and it's continuing to move. Yes, yes, yes. The new life expectancy for us is 361 years. Whereas obviously the old life expectancy was maybe 1/5 of that, right? Roughly 70. Okay. See our new life expectancy? 361 years. So, this is a major, massive, super important change that happened with the... Oh, and I didn't know why that day. I didn't pay any attention to all this stuff. And I'm saying, why today? What happened? What's special about today? I opened an email and somebody, just reading the title, something about the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. So something happened with this summer solstice, one of those astrological events that I don't believe in, that has totally re-engineered the future of ascended people on Earth to a new life expectancy of 361 years. Okay? That's the news. A massive change, a massive milestone in the Ascension process. So I will publish this. I'm sorry it's so long, but I think it's important. And we'll see what happens. Interesting times we are in. Thank you very much.